Welcome back, Freedom Protectors. And today we're talking about lubricity and oiling your Glock for first-time quality. Now look, this is the key component in preventive maintenance and functional performance. A properly lubricated firearm is going to help make sure that your parts don't suffer from premature wear, that you're guarded against corrosion, and that your gun functions flawlessly for tens of thousands of rounds. Proper lubrication really is the difference between a dependable and reliable firearm and one that could potentially seize up on you. Now I'm going to walk you through my lubrication procedures today that's going to guarantee that when she's by your side and she's locked and loaded, ready to go, that she's lubed up and ready to bang at a moment's notice. You ready to go, pro? Let's rock, baby. All right, Freedom Protectors, today we're going to be doing a first-time quality lube job because it's really the difference between having a weapon that performs straight out of the gate with first-time quality or one that potentially will give you a lot of hiccups. Now, when it comes to lubrication spots on a Glock firearm, there's a lot of contrasting information out there. You'll look at a Glock owner's manual, and then there's several versions of them. They'll say different things. Glock reference guides say different things. The Glock lubrication guide itself yet says something different. A Glock armor's manual, again, has contrasting information. So rather than go off of one simple template to show you how to lubricate, what I'm going to do is give you my take as somebody who has spent decades working on Glock firearms, building Glock firearms, armoring Glock firearms, and doing different setups, whether that be for competition shooting or for duty use, okay? So this is my take on it in general. I'm going to put these books and reference stuff aside. And by the way, I have all of this stuff in the Knowledge Center on Marine Gun Builder. So if you ever want to download PDFs and read and become a Glock geek like me, you're more than welcome to. All right, so we're going to start with the trigger housing and the frame because that's the easiest, and then we're going to get to the slide. And so kind of our key word for today is going to be sparingly, all right? Whenever we're talking about lubricating a Glock firearm, little is more. All right, that's the general premise. And I kind of operate from this mindset, all right, in my experience. And lubricated Glock that is dirty functions awesome, okay? But a dry Glock that is dirty, that's no good, all right? So we want to have some lubrication, and the truth here is that a Glock firearm can fire thousands and thousands and thousands of rounds and not be cleaned, okay? However, if it's not oiled, that's where we start to run into issues, okay? Because it starts to cake up, all of that carbon and dirt starts to cake up and then starts to give you problems, specifically in the extractor areas where you start to see the symptoms first. So, little is more, keyword is sparingly. Lubricated but dirty Glock is good to go, but a dry Glock that's dirty, no bueno. When it comes to lubrication, realistically, you only really have to lubricate any time that you clean a gun. And the truth here, again, is that Glock firearms require very, very little cleaning, especially if you've taken the time up front to make sure that all of your parts are clean and polished to begin with. Now, look, I come from the world of the Marine Corps where we do inspections with white gloves, and then better not be a speck of dirt on your firearm anywhere, otherwise you're going to be quarterdecked to death. And so what I want you to understand is that even me, if I go to the range and I shoot a couple of hundred rounds, I'm not coming home disassembling everything and cleaning it to death. We're going to begin here with the trigger housing, and what we want to do is pay attention in lubrication to anywhere that metal on metal contacts, okay? And so on the trigger housing, we have our bird's beak of our trigger bar right here, and that interacts with the arm of our connector. And so as we pull the trigger, it comes to the arm, hits the angle of the connector, and then drops off the shelf in the back and fires the weapon, right? And then comes up, over, and then resets and back on the shelf. So we need to put a little drop of oil right in there on that connector where the bird's beak and the connector interact, right there, okay? So, pretty simple. I'm just going to take some oil. Now, a lot of questions I always get are, what do you prefer? You know, everybody's got their own take of what oil they prefer. Go with what you want. But what I like to use is a little needle adapter to make sure that I can get into those little spots and I'm only putting a drop. Because when it comes to lubrication, one of the things that happens is if you don't have a needle applicator, you end up always over lubricating, okay? And that's actually no good. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to pull this out like that. And I'm going to put a little drop of lube right there on the arm of that connector. So I take my needle applicator and very gently just put a little drop, just like that. Very, very simple. Again, you don't need much. Less is more. So I'm going to come in, put my trigger back in. I'm just going to work this back and forth, just like so. Okay? Then come up and over, do the reset a couple times, working it in, and that's it, Freedom Protector. That piece is good, so we can put that aside for now. You can actually even do your frame and assemble your frame after that, but we'll do that a little bit later. Then we get into the slide. And so with the slide, we have our recoil spring, which we're going to take care of. I'm going to take that out, and we have our barrel. So we'll take this thread protector off, and we have our barrel. And we have the slide. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the recoil spring assembly. So your recoil spring assembly from the factory is squeaky, and I actually have a whole video called Fix the Squeak, right? Because, hear that? That squeak plays out tenfold as loud when you start racking it. So your recoil spring assembly needs some lubrication. So for that, I simply take a microfiber towel, I take some Ballistol, shake it up. I've showed this several times in my video, okay, but this is part of lubrication. Give it a couple sprays, turn it over, a couple sprays, turn it over. Then I work it a little bit inside the coils there, okay? I don't want to hear any squeak by the time I'm done with this. All right? Then I hold down, spray in there, a couple more. All right? And then I just kind of put that aside and let it set up. I'm done with the recoil spring assembly. Very easy. Next, we're going to take a look at our barrel. So with a barrel, there's lots of lubrication points on a barrel, believe it or not. And actually, let me show you a different barrel. Here's one with wear. So if we look at this barrel, we can clearly see some of the wear spots that are on this barrel. The first that's really noticeable is up here on the front of the barrel. Now, this is because when the barrel is in, we're like this, we're locked into place, it's going to drop down and unlock and then come out as the slide goes back to that point, then back in and back up. And so on all barrels, you're going to have a lot of wear right up into the front 3/4 of the barrel. Okay, very, very common. The next part is going to be on the hood of the barrel, right? And again, unlocking, dropping, rubbing across the hood of the slide, coming out as the slide comes back, coming back in, and then relocking up. So we want to touch that area up here on the hood as well to minimize that metal-to-metal contact. Remember that this is also very violent, right, as this is happening, right? This is going very, very fast and violently. The other thing here is if we look at our lugs, where our lugs lock into our locking block, we're going to have a lot of wear there, right? So our locking block is here, our barrel, and we're locked in. We have a lot of wear inside on the lugs of our barrel, and so we want to pay attention to that area as well. Along the sides, you're always going to have some because it's on the inside of your slide, like this, and it's dropping, and you can see it's rubbing right there and forward on both sides as it comes out and then back up. Now, the fancier cuts you have on your slide, or depending on how your slide is machined, is going to be very specific about the wear pattern you get. You know, so if you have something that's a little closed but more fancy, this is actually a 17 slide. But let me grab a 19 slide. Something like this where I don't have a window up front, you know, this might give you a different wear pattern, okay? So as you're coming in, releasing, and going up, I have full contact on the side, and I'm going to get more wear with this slide on the side here. So we just want to pay attention to that as we lubricate the barrel. Then we need to do the inside of the barrel. Now, I kind of have a rule when it comes to the inside of the barrel and oiling, okay? And I'll just share it with you. If I am going to store the weapon, once I oil the inside of the barrel, I leave it that way, right? I'll run the wet patch through as we will do in a second, and I'll leave it. and I'll put it away if I'm going to store it. However, if I'm going to shoot it, I always make sure that I use a dry patch and take out any of the oil that's there. So when it comes to the inside of the barrel, if you're going to store it, it's good. You just leave it, wet. If not, if you're going to fire it, then you go ahead and run a dry patch through and take out any excess oil that's there, okay? So that's going to be the barrel. We'll put that aside. All right, so let's attack this barrel now. Just going to take out some Q-tips. Sometimes it allows me a little more precision as well, and to soak up anything that I over oil. Okay, so we want to hit the inside of the lugs. Again, you're having your lock up here onto your locking block, right? So all of that is that metal to metal interaction we want to take care of. So I'm going to take the applicator, a little more over here, right? Like I said, right? Less is more in this instance. I'll take a little patch, just kind of go in there, move it around a little bit. Make sure that we've got some oil in there. Pretty simple, and then it's a little shiny. I don't know if you can see that, okay? It's a little shiny. Perfect. I'm going to put a little bit on the hood right here. Put a dab there and a dab right there, okay? Rub that in with my finger. You can take a patch, kind of go in like this, just like that. Now you can do the whole hood, right? Because again, it's unlocking and scraping across the whole top portion of your slide. However, I like to not do that with the barrel. I like to do that with the slide in here. And part of the reason for that is, if you have this barrel in and you have this all oiled, it looks like shit. Like when it's all shiny up here and people looking at it. And so I like to just kind of do up here, depending on the slide cut that you have, to do that area. So we'll take care of that complete hood on the slide portion. So we did this little area here. We got to do the entire front. But before I do the entire front, I'm going to want to do inside our chamber and throughout the barrel. Next thing I'm going to do is just take a snake here, and I'm going to put a dry patch through it. Now it's a brand new barrel, so it's not going to be dirty, okay? But you always want to do this. Drop it in from the chamber to the muzzle end. That's always the direction that we're going to go. I drop it into the chamber end and I pull it out through the muzzle. And yep, it's a brand new barrel. There's no dirt or anything in there, so we're good to go. So now we need to do that with some lubrication. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this patch and I'm going to grab that ballast all again, okay? And I'm just going to wet the patch. Just some quick sprays. Again, nothing big. I'm not soaking it. I'm not drenching it. I'm just getting it damp, I guess would be the correct word. So we'll put that in here, into our snake. And again, you have a cleaning rod that comes with the Glock. You use that too. So going in from the chamber end all the way to the muzzle end, and I'm going to pull that wet patch through, giving it a slight twist as I come through and around, just like so. Okay? So now again, if I was going to store this barrel, I would just store it just like that. However, if I'm going to shoot it, I'm now going to run a dry patch through it. So what I'm going to do is take a dry patch. We'll come over here, get a dry patch, put it into our snake, and we're going to drop it again down through the chamber and come out the muzzle end. Just like that, and then run that 2 or 3 times, giving it a slight twist as you come through. Perfect. All right, so the inside looks absolutely gorgeous and stunning, right? Look how nice that is. Beautiful. All right, so that's done. Now we have, let me take this, we'll just dry this up for a second before we do the front of the barrel. Clean this up. Now we need to do the 3/4 over here, but I actually do the whole thing all the way back, all right, because it's sitting in there with the metal anyway. So I take my little applicator and just gonna go 3 little dots, 1, 2, 3, just like that. And I'm gonna use my finger and I'm gonna come all the way around the barrel, just like so. Looks good, right? And it's not overly oil. It's just those 3 little dots, and I've spread it all the way around. And it's slick enough, but it's not moist and wet and grimy, okay? With that, I still got some of my fingers, so I'm gonna just put some on the side like this. Again, I don't want that glossy look. I just want it to be hydrated and lubricated. Perfect. So just like that, that barrel is done. We'll put that aside over here. So we're good with that. Now let's talk about the slide. With the slide, let's see, we've got channels to do. So down in here, we're gonna get our channels for where it goes onto our rail. We're gonna get them nice and mint, first time quality. We're gonna hit that hood, like I said, in here. So when our barrel disconnects and it's scraping along, that we have a good, solid lubrication area for that as well. And then the last but not least piece that I didn't talk about yet is with your trigger connector on the top here. Okay, this is riding along the side. We want to make sure that I put a little bit right here on that reset point. All right, that's the only other piece. You don't want to stay away from the firing pin, nothing near the firing pin, but I want to put a little piece there. You could also just put it right on top of there as well. It's really up to you. So if you don't want to put it on the slide, you can just put a little dab right on there on the top, and it just makes that reset and that connection that much more smoother. And that's actually what we're going to do. So I'm just going to take the applicator and I put a little dot right onto the Q-tip like that. And I'm going to take the arm and I'm just going to touch it. Beautiful. All right. So with the slide then, we're going to hit the hood right here for our barrel. And we're going to do the channels so that it slides beautifully on our rail. So to do that, I'm going to take an old credit card and I'm going to take a patch. Because what I'm going to do first is I just want to make sure, I mean, this is a machined piece, right? We don't know if it's been cleaned after they machine it or what, and every slide is a little bit different. But I'm going to take a patch with a credit card, and I'm just going to come down the rail here and make sure that there's no dirt or debris. Like, see? I mean, this is a brand new slide, and we have some dirt and debris, and we want to make sure that we don't have that, that we're oil and lubricating with dirt in there, okay? So come the other way. Pull it out. Yeah, see? So we're just going to clean this out before we lubricate it. Right. See how many passes it takes before you're extremely clean. Good. Come this way with it. I think one more on that side. All right, good enough, perfect. So now we need to put some oil in there. So I'm going to take the applicator and basically from the back end, from your back plate end is how we're going to do it. I'm going to put a drop here and then I'm going to set it this way. I'm going to let gravity take over and I'm going to let the drop run all the way down the length of that slide, right? So I'm going to come here, I'm going to get that needle applicator right in there, and I'm going to give that a nice bead, just like so, and we're going to let that run its course all the way down. So just like watching paint dry. You can see it moving all the way down the slide. Do the other side. Same thing, generous bead. Coming down, and then just stand it up and let gravity take over. All right, so this is good, and it's kind of come all the way down and puddled right here at the end. So with that, I'm just going to let me take a clean Q-tip, and I'm going to clean up some of that puddle there and absorb it with the Q-tip. I'm going to come around the ring here from that absorption, because that is, again, a very big area that our barrel is going inside and out of, all right? So got that. Beautiful. And last but not least, I'm just going to hit the hood area, okay? So I'm going to take the applicator, very simply. I'm going to put a little drop in like that. Again, I'll take a Q-tip or a patch, whatever you have, and Just going to lubricate that area. This slide is actually pretty great because it's got this awesome top window up front. So it's just this area, and that's about the same size of the area regardless of the slide that you have that you want to make sure is covered. Okay, boom, put a little on the side right here of what's left over, a little right here, and that is it, my friends. Okay, so now all we need to do is reassemble. So I'm going to put all this stuff aside and then we'll reassemble and take a look at it. All right, we're all cleaned up, ready to assemble. Take our slide and our barrel, drop our barrel in place. Take our recoil spring assembly that's been soaking in that ballistol. It's not going to squeak on us anymore. It's going to be perfect and sound great and work great. I'm going to take our thread protector and screw that back on the front of our barrel, like so. Then we're going to take our frame, which our rails are going to love, our nice oiled slide, right? Just like that. Ooh, beautiful, right? Work it in. Perfect, right? Look at that. That is absolutely perfect action. Good unlock right there. Good to go, my friends. That is a first-time quality lube job on a Glock Polymer 80. That's it for today, my friends. Simplify, do or die.